Hi everyone, Samuel Boulanger from Power Platform Geek. In today's video, we'll look into the segmentation function of Dynamics 365 for marketing. The agenda for today is we'll first look how to create a demographic segment, a segment based on information coming from the contact, like his age, his gender, his address. So any information coming from the contact card. We'll then dig into the firmographic segment, so how to create a segment based on the related account information, like the industry or the address again, or any information that come from the account related to the contact. We'll then look into behavioral segments where we will query based on actions or interactions that a contact has with one of our previous marketing mail blasts or any other related marketing actions like customer journey. And finally, we'll finish with how to create compound segments, so how to merge segments together. Before I start, I just want to give you two quick tips. The first one is before starting creating your segment, I encourage you to go in your contact form and to look after the data you want to query on. Because when you'll be in the segment tool, you'll notice that there's a lot of fields available, some that you maybe never known before. So it's a good thing to go in the account, the contact form, and to look for those fields, because the segmentation tool will provide you with all the fields that exist in the system in the backend. So maybe there's some of them you never used before, you've never seen before. Okay, and if your system is customized, it's possible that some of those fields are hidden from the forms itself. So as for instance, if I go in contact John Doe, and I know I want to query based on his age. In my system right now, I don't have any field called age. Okay, what I have is a field called birthday. Okay, so I'll know I'll have to use this field to create my query based on age. Okay, if I'm looking for the gender, I know that this field is called gender. Same for the marital status or any other fields in the system. Another example is the address. Okay, the city is not called city; it's called address 1 city. Okay, so you must know your data before starting to create your query or your segment. Second tips: if you know how to use graph in the system and Advanced Find, I will suggest you to create quick graph to understand your data. It's often happen with customers that they think that they will have a big result on certain segments, like the city. So they think they have a lot of customer coming from New York City or from Montreal, and then when they create the segment, they realize they don't have much. In some cases, it's because the information is not fulfilled into the systems how is like it's supposed to be. Okay, so learn your data before create segment, because maybe you'll get surprises. So with the Advanced Find function, you can create quick queries and have a quick result on how many results you will have for a certain query that you will later use in your segments. So let's start with demographic segment. Okay, so to create a segment, you'll go into customers there, segments. Then you'll click on new. And you have two types of segments, okay? Dynamic segments and static segments. I'll quickly cover the static segments. It's one which is pretty easy to use. So let's say I want to query my contact from Montreal. Okay, and the difference between static and a dynamic segment is when you create a static segment, it's a one-shot deal. I mean, I will create this segment right now. I will add the contacts manually one by one or by using a query, as I will show you. But then the query or the segment will not move from this point. If I want to add participants or contact, or I want to remove some, I will have to go back in my segment and remove them or add them. Okay, so there's nothing automatic in those kind of segments. While using dynamic segments, you will create your query, and based on that, the system or the segment will automatically update it. So if I'm creating a query from all my contacts from Montreal, and one of my sales rep is creating a new contact in the system from Montreal, it will automatically be added to the segment. And if somebody changes address and is now living elsewhere, it will automatically be removed from the segment. Okay, the static one is static, so nothing will move if I don't update it manually. So there's two ways of updating a static segment. You can add participant look one by one. So for instance, if I want to add John Doe, I can just type John Doe. I find my contact, click on it. Okay, I can add more if I want to. So let's say Alfonso, and on. I can add as much contact as I want. When I'm ready, I just click on add, and now my segment will have 2 new contacts in it. Okay, so Alfonso and John Doe, obviously. If I want to remove one, I just click on the line and I click on remove. I can select multiple lines, so it's pretty easy to use. The second one is by query, and I will not cover it there because I will use this kind of query in the dynamic segment, but quickly it lets you create a query based on the attribute from the contact card. So when I tell you that you must know the information from your contact card, it's because when looking into the attribute, you will see all the different fields that come from the contact card, and as you can see, there's a lot of them. Okay, so that's the 2 way of creating a static segment, and I'll go back in detail on how to use this query creator in a few when I will go into the dynamic segment. The last thing about static segment is if you want to remove them bulk, you can use the remove by query. It's the same principle, so you'll choose an attribute. So if I added all the contact from Montreal and now I want to from Montreal and New York, and now I want to remove contacts from New York, I can do the same type of query, but instead of adding them, it will remove them. Okay. Now let's look into dynamic segment. So as I said, dynamic segment will automatically be updated at the same time as the system does. So when contacts are updated, when fields in the contact which are included in my queries are updated, the segment will update. So if I create a new dynamic segment where I want all my contact between 30 and 35 years old and coming from Redmond and Montreal, for instance. First thing I see, I will be prompt with this Windows. Pretty much all functions in Dynamics for Marketing has this kind of templates that pop out when you create a new segment in this example. So you can create from pre-created segment. Okay, you'll have to open them to see how they looks, but it's pre-made queries, so it can be a good starter when you want to create a query. In that case, I want to start from blank, so I'll just create cancel. First thing I want to do is to give it a name. So let's say I want male between 30 and 35 from Montreal and Redmond. Okay, I can save and add a query block. Okay, so we'll cover all this block one by one. The first one, which we'll use for our demographic and firmographic, is add query block. So right now I'm querying on contacts. Okay, I can query on other entities like account, event if you're using this function, form pro, okay, and other different entities from the system. I will not cover them all today, but we'll look into account when we'll go into the firmographic demonstration. Okay, so right now I'm querying on contacts. So all the attributes that I'm seeing there is attributes that come from the contact itself, and we want to query based on the age of the contact. As I mentioned when we first started, is that I don't have an age field in the system. I have a birthday field, which is the date of its birthday, obviously. So I want to go look for it. So I can just scroll up and down, right, like this, or I can type in, okay, birthday, and the system will propose me with results. So I want birthday is greater than or equal to, and I use a little Excel formula to calculate the date. But I want, sorry, I'll just change here. Yeah, here it goes. 1989, let's say December 1st. Okay, so birthday is greater than or equal. I could have choose equal, is not equal, is greater than. Is, so the operators will be different based on the type of field that you're using. So if I'm querying on an option set, the operators will be is equal or is not equal, and then I'll be able to choose a different value from the option sets. If I'm querying from a text field, the operators will be different. Okay, so each type of fields have its own set of operators. So now I want is greater than or equal, and again I want to add a condition. Okay, I could also add a group or a related entity. Okay, related entity is if I want to query based on fields that are in other related entity. Okay, like the account. It's a good example. I can add a group. A group will add an and or a or to my query. We'll use one in a few, so I'll go back to it. And add condition, it's simply a new line with a new conditions for this specific query. So let's add another condition based on birthday. So is less than or equal to, okay, actually it was 94, so I'll just change it. So it's greater than or equal to 1st of December 94, and it's less than or equal to, actually I could also type it, okay, 89, okay. From there, I'll already have a query. So the system will return me all my contact between 30 and 35 years. I can always go there and estimate size, and it will tell me how many results I'll have if I let my query that way. So right now, I'll have 64 contacts returned by this query. Okay. Then I want mail. So I'll add another condition. So it will be another and, okay, because I want the contact to have all this condition together. Okay. So gender equal. Okay. So that's an option set. Okay. So the operators will be different than for date. In this case, it's equal, does not equal, is in, is not in, etc. And I have the values from my option set. So mail, if I do a refresh, now I just have one. Okay, so maybe I'll remove it because I want to have more result. If you want to delete a line, just click on the little three dot at the end of the line, click delete, and you've removed the date. Okay, now I want to add the city. Okay, so I'll add city. As I showed you at the beginning, the city is in address 1 city equal Montreal. I have 11 contacts between 30 and 35 years old living in Montreal. But I also want people living in Redmond. So I'll add another condition. City equal Redmond. Then refresh, and I will have 0. And it makes sense because you can't live in Montreal and in Redmond at the same time. You can live in either one or the other. That's why this operator there, the N and R, is important. Now I can say I want him to live in either one or the other. Now I have an estimate of 37. You have two kind of views from this query. Okay, now we're in the natural view. If you go in the top right there, you'll see natural view. If I can change it to tree view, I prefer this one. Okay, so now I see that all this condition must be encountered or this one. Okay, but it don't make sense because his birthday must be 94 to 84 to 89 and Montreal, or you live in Redmond. But now we bypass the conditions on the birthday, so my grouping is not good. So what I'll do is I'll delete this line there. Okay, and what we want to do is add the city in this or condition, because we want Montreal or Redmond, and the person must be between 30 and 35 years old. So add the city there, call Montreal. And now I have an estimate of 83. Okay, so it's really important to understand how to work with the grouping, so the or and the and, because it will have a big impact on the result of your queries. Okay, as I said, you can always change the view between natural and tree view, depending on which one you prefer. Okay, when I'm ready, I click on save. You can check for errors, okay, because you'll not be able to put your query live if you have error in it, obviously. And to use it, you need to be live. So now we'll check for error. We don't have any, so it tells me your segment passed the error check, and I can go live. Once it's live, I can use it in the mail blast or for any other reasons. From that moment, it will start update automatically when my system update. Okay, so if I have new contacts coming from Montreal or Redmond, which are between 30 and 35 years old, they will automatically be added to this segment. Then we'll look into how to create firmographic segment. Okay, so now I want to query based on the related account, the account related to my contact. Okay, so I'll just create a new segment, and we'll look for all the contacts which are linked, to company and account in the business services or consulting. So let's create a new dynamic segment. Again, it proposed me with templates. I don't want any. So contacts working in business services or consulting. Okay. Then I'll save. And I will add a query block. Now I don't want to query based on information coming from the contact. I want to query based on information coming from the related account. So instead of choosing contact, I'll choose account. And I want to filter on industry. Okay, so industry equal to, so it was an option set field. So the operators let me choose from all the different values contained in the option set. So I said business services and industry. Okay, again, could be does not equal, contain, is not, is in. I want consulting. And I want to change my grouping. So it's not an and, it's an or. You can be in both industries, actually based on this specific field. So I'll just choose or. And a quick tip, if you want to see all the related entities which are related with my contacts, you can click on this little button and call Explore Related Entities. And it will give you graphical visual representations of how all those entities are linked together. Okay, if you have a custom system, there's a way to update marketing insights to take into account the new entities. Okay, I'll not cover that in this video, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask it in the comments. But you can add new custom entities to this graph and to the entities available to query on. Okay, so now I can see that my contact is linked to my account, which is linked to my lead, but my lead relate back to my contact, etc., etc. Just to give you a quick view of all those entities are linked together. Then I created my query, but now there's more than one fields which link my contacts and my account. Okay, in my account I have a field called primary contact. I also have in my contact field called account. So which one do I want to use to query on my contact? That's what I need to tell the system. Okay, so that's why I have this red flag telling me you're missing one information. So you always have to end your query with contact, okay, because it's always on contact that you're querying. And now the system is asking me which is the link between both entity I want to use. Okay, so it presents me with the different options, so the different links between contact and account. So as I said, there's a field called primary contact. Okay, so the first thing is now the query will return me contacts, okay, based on the field called primary contact, okay, which is a lookup to contact. And this field is in the account entity. So if I go in my account form, I will see a field called primary contact, okay, which links to contact. And based on that, I want the system to return me contacts. If I use that one, it tells me that in my contact entity, so it will return me contact. Okay, in my contact entity, I have a field called account, okay, which relate to account. So it's a lookup to account, but it's a link between both entity. So normally I will take this one because in account I have just one primary contact, but a lot of contact can have the same account. So I will have more result if I'm using this field there by using the account field in the contact form. So let's choose it. And from there, I can continue querying based on contact, or I can just let it that way. And now I'll have all my contact, which are in the business services and or consulting. Actually don't return much, so let's try this one. Yeah, I have 3 in that case. Okay, so when I prepared my demo data, it seems that I use the primary contact in the account. Okay, but based on which field you want to query, you'll just change that link between both entities. And I can continue querying, but from there you're querying in this entity, so contact. So if I'm continue to query and to add condition, this information there is coming from the contact card. So I can say all contact from Montreal. Where's my city? There it is. Equal Montreal. So now I'll have all the contact from Montreal who are primary contact in an account, which industries is business services or consulting. Maybe I'll have nothing. Yeah, so I have 0, but I think you understand how it works. Okay. Again, I have to save, check for errors, and when I'm ready to use it, I go live. Okay, so your segment passed the error check, I go live. There we go. My segment is live. Now we'll look into behavioral segment. Okay. This one could be a little bit more complicated, and I don't want to go into advanced functions today, so I'll just give you a quick view of how it works. I'm planning to do another video in the futures showing how to use behavioral segments at their full value. So let's close this. So let's say I want all my contacts clicked on an email last week. Okay, last week. I'll just save, and that time I'll add behavior block. I have different values I can choose from. Okay, in that case it's email click, but as you can see, there's a lot of possible value on which you can query. The most used one obviously is email click or email opened, but you also create a list of the one who are bounces, which email has been forwarded, I've been blocked. You can look for confirmation requests or response when you're using the double opt-in function. You can look if somebody has filled a form, if somebody has visited your website. Okay, so there's all those kinds of querying function that you have based on action or interaction of your contacts. In this case, I'll create a simple one just based on who I've clicked on one of my email. Okay, and first thing I have to choose is on what I'm querying on, and then is the filters. Okay, so those filters are based on the contact itself. So again, that's where I'll put the city, the age, or anything else that I've done in the past demo. But now I want to add filters based on the email clicked entity. Okay, so I want the person or the contact to have more than one interactions. Okay, so more than one click in the last 7 days. Okay, if I save it, I close my segments, I reopen it, this little querying windows will disappear. You always have to click on the filter there to make it appear, and from there you can you can choose your filter. Okay, you don't have more than this line of filter. It's not like the querying tool just behind. You have less options for filtering, but I think it's enough. So you have the total interaction based on the email click. And let's see the query. Yeah, it's true. Sorry, Dan. In behavioral segment, you cannot have the number evaluated. Okay? I don't know why, but for now, the option is not there. Okay, so I can create my value based on interaction in the last 7 days, and I could add more filter if I want to, like again the city from Montreal. Or other information coming from the contact card. Okay. That's pretty much it for the behavioral. I mean, you could create more complicated query, obviously. You can add more than one behavioral block, okay, and the same for the other kind of block. So I can say I want all my contact who click on an email in the last 7 days, and all one who open one. Okay, so I can create all those kinds of query, and then I can merge them, which will bring us to my last part, which is created compound segments. Okay, let's just save this one. Actually, I'll delete this block because it's empty, will not let me save. So let's go live. There we go. And let's create a compound segment, or how to merge segments together. So let's say I want to use my 3 queries that I've just created. So I want a segment with all my contacts between 30 and 35 years living in Montreal or Redmond. And I also want all contact coming working from industry, from business services or consultation. And finally, I don't want anybody who click in one of my email in the last week to be part of the segment, because I want to use the segment for a mail blast, and I don't want people who click on one of my email in the last week to receive another email. Okay, so let's go. I'll just call it compound segment. And that time I'll use a segment block. Segment block lets me add segment that I already have created. And a thing to know is your segment must be live if you want to see them in this list and use it in a compound segment. Okay, that's why I've put it in a live while I was creating them. So I want all my male between 30 and 35 from Montreal. I'll add a second one. And now I want contact working in business services or consulting. Okay. And little options there. It's a visual representation in your segments. So how they bound together. It's the flow view. It's called a Sankey diagram, which will give you a visual representation of how your segments will bound together. So now I can see that I have my first query and then my second query, and they will merge together at this point. Okay, so but it's one or the other. So all participants of those queries will be in this segment. But I can also say, no, I want an and an also, which mean, okay, that the contact must be in both segments in order to be in this compound segment. Okay, so the person have to be a male between 30 and 35 from Montreal and Redmond, and he have to be working in a business of services or consulting. Okay, if he's not, he will not be returned in this query, so in this segment. So right now I don't seem to have any, okay, which are in both. But if I click on R and I check, I have 83. Okay, so it's really people from both this segment would add up and merge together to create a bigger segment. But then I can say I want everyone from those segments, but I don't want anybody to be part of my last segments, which is people who click on an email in the last week. So let's go get it. Where it is, all email click in last week. There we go. And now I'll say but not. Okay, so now you're seeing how it looks. So people who have clicked will be removed. Okay, so if anybody who clicked is in one of those two query, it will be removed from there. And now I have 80. I have three contact who have clicked on one of my email. Okay, you can then save. And if you want to look at the members, okay, part of this segment, you can go live. It's the same for all the other segments I've created before, actually. So if you want to look for the members, you can click on the member tab right there. It will update, and now you can see all my people in my segment. Okay, if I open any other segments which is live, it must be live to see this information, I'll be able to see all the different members. Okay, you cannot remove one member manually because it's a dynamic segment. In a static segment you can, but not in dynamic segment. It will update automatically. You have to change your query if you want to remove someone. Then you have the insights. Okay, so in the insights you'll have quick information and overview and the information based on of your query. So now it just starts running today. So it passed from 0 to 80, but after a certain period of time, you'll be able to see how it fluctuates and how many contacts has been removed or added day by day by looking in this insight tab. Okay. Finally, if you go in general, you have generic informations like the name, the type of segment, time zone, etc., etc. You cannot modify when you're live. If you want to modify, you have to either stop or click on edit. If you click on edit, it will let you do the change, and once you've saved it, it will go back to the live status. Okay, so you can always see the status at the top right there. So now I'm live editable. When I first created the segment, I was in draft mode. Now I'm in live editable. I can do my change. So compound segment example, then I save, and now you can see it's going live. And when it finished to go live, the status will change to live. There you go, with the number of members. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and that you learned something. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comments on my YouTube channel. I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to have to see my new videos. So I'll make more in this series for Dynamics marketing. And again, you can reach me on my social media. And thank you for your time.